presented by BetRivers. As you can see, we are the two-man weave once again today. Just myself, Kai McEwen, and Matt Cox, my good buddy, because Jim Root is flying back home from Baltimore, Maryland, Matt, where he saw his Packers win in dramatic fashion against the Ravens. The Ravens went for 2. We're NFL guys. We can talk NFL all day. It's an NFL show, Matt. Is that right?
That's right. Protect the shield, baby. We'll have a few breakdowns coming up on tonight's showdown between the team 1 and the team 2. Who plays tonight? I don't really know.
I have no idea.
The joke is Kai and I don't really care about the NFL, but we're trying to care.
We don't.
Because guys like football and we're guys. So we should be starting to care more.
Well, Matt, we decided to have a show today in advance of a couple key Big East cancellations.
Yes.
Creighton DePaul would have been fun to talk about. St. John Seton Hall would have been nice.
Scrapped.
Yeah, both scrapped. So the games on today's slate are, shall we say, less than ideal. But,
oh, wow. Hey, Summit fans are just irate that you took shade at them. Because, hey,
they
headlined tonight's slate.
Yeah, and we love the Summit, and we love every team in college basketball, Matt. And actually, ironically, the top 3 teams in KenPom are all playing tonight. Purdue, Baylor, and Gonzaga. How about that?
Awesome. Big old spreads.
Yes,
they are. Going to attack them or are we going to fade them?
Let's go ahead and start talking about them right now. It's basically a haves and a haves not start to the show, Matt, here.
Yes, it is.
We're going to start with Northern Arizona at Gonzaga. And Matt, I feel like all 3 of these teams, they can basically name their number. Pick whatever you want to score. Pick whatever number you want to win by. That's what's going to happen. Do you think Gonzaga takes care of NAU tonight? I think the spread is around 34.5 currently. We know they can do it. Do you think NAU has any chance of keeping it close?
Yeah, I do, just because the spot's a little flat for the Zags. I think it'll be a theme with all of these, the haves and have-nots showdowns. I'm looking at Gonzaga's schedule so far this year. You just look at the games coming off of big wins or big performances. Alcorn State, I believe they snuck in the cover at the it played right pretty close to the number coming off the Texas win. Then you look at the Tarleton State effort. They won by 9, but Tarleton kept it really close throughout. That was coming off the Duke game.
That was a weird one.
And then Merrimack, again played right around the number, 1 by 25, coming off the Alabama loss. I don't know. You can try to pick between those precedents. I actually kind of like NIU this year. They've been bad. I know they've been bad, but the talent's not depleted. They had Jalen Cone, who was a fringe, not star, but like a legit ACC caliber player. He basically runs the entire offense. You have a guy like that catching 30 in a flat spot, you at least have a puncher's chance. I think the Lumberjacks do. Okay.
I think Shane Burkhardt is a great coach.
Shane Burkhardt's a good coach. I agree.
Yeah, I know he hasn't gotten off the ground quite yet at NAU, but I think he really is a good coach. Young guy, Matt, not too much older than we are. I don't know. I can't tell. I don't know if Gonzaga is even prone to being sleepy, so I hesitate to say sleepy spot for them. I feel like they're just too good. I kind of lean towards Gonzaga, but I'm not playing this one. The other 2 games, though, I am sort of have stronger leans towards a couple teams. So let's just talk about those right now instead.
Let's do it.
Alcorn State is the proper pronunciation. I heard on a telecast one time. They are playing at Baylor. Now, they've played recently. Last year, Baylor won the championship, of course. Alcorn lost by 31, Matt, in that game. But at one point, midway through the second, Baylor was up 80-36. So they're 44.
Kind of a gross little backdoor. Like Baylor just sort of, took their foot off the gas completely.
They were playing with their food a little bit. Alcorn, to their credit this year, only have 1 loss by over 30. That was Houston. They've played good teams fairly close this year. We've talked about the MEAC/SWAC revival this season, about playing better in non-conference. I don't know if this one is one of those games they can hang around. I think Baylor's just that good. I tend to think Baylor blows them out, covers this 34.5 point spread right now at BetRivers.
Yeah, I don't have a strong take here. Again, I know Alcorn's down a few players last game. They lost to Tulsa by 21. They played Wichita 2 days before, basically exact same score. They're in like the Texas broader, Midwest area there. So it's not like some massive cross-country road trip with 3 days off. So, there's not a terrible, dire rest, weary situation here for the Braves. And again, this is an Alcorn State team that we've sort of called Prairie View Light. Coached by Landon Bussey, former longtime assistant at Prairie View. And Prairie View's been a really, really feisty dog, save a couple of head-scratching performances. So I think there has that DNA. You mentioned the press time when they played Baylor close last year. I think this one, like the NAU thing, ends up kind of hovering around the spread late in the game. So I don't know. Both these first 2 are stayaways for me. Pretty hard.
they're doing something interesting, Alcorn, this year. And I'm not, I'll look at it. I have the stats right here for Bussy. No, he's kind of changed this year. They're playing at one of the slowest tempos in the country. So he's kind of said, okay, I know I can't run with these power teams. I'm just going to slam on the brakes, play a slow tempo, eat clock. And that's obviously very smart. We think
very wise. Agree.
Most slow major teams should be doing that. So actually most of their games are playing under 70 possessions. I don't think Baylor's like inclined to run this up necessarily. So maybe Alcorn is the correct side here. I put a little bit something on Baylor just in case, man. I just think they can blow them out.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
All right, this next one, even more strong take from me, which is still kind of mild. Incarnate Word is going to Purdue. This spread is the biggest one of the night. It's up 38, minus 38 right now. Purdue, absolutely huge spread. Matt, I think it's warranted. I think the Boilers crush them. They're the best offense in the country, playing the second worst defense in the country. It's going to be a bloodbath on the boards. I think Incarnate Word gets one shot max down the floor every single time. And they shot literally 20 for 70 against Rice in their last outing.
It was horrific. Absolutely terrible.
Obviously an aberration a little bit there. No team is that poor, but Purdue's amazing. Jim Root in the chat says Purdue by 60. I agree. I think Purdue wins this game by 40 or 50 and covers 38. In fact, it's my best bet.
I think you probably have the winner there. This is just an astronomical line, in my opinion. I don't understand why Incarnate Word's been so bad. I think injuries have been the culprit behind there, but this team has been competitive the last 2 years under, by the way, former Matt Painter assistant. So I think that has a play in tonight's handicap. I don't know if it's like a Painter wants to take it easy on his former mentee, but you can maybe see a situation where Purdue's not like, they're basically playing Edey or Williams 10 minutes each and they're resting those guys second half with the break looming, Christmas and the holidays coming up. And Incarnate Word is healthier than they've been this season. That said, they've been abysmal on both sides of the ball. I don't know. I'm trying to find a reason to take 39. I'm looking at the other like massive spread this season. Duke was laying 36 against South Carolina State.
Yeah.
I
think South Carolina State's better than
they've been a better team so far. I agree. So
I think Purdue's better than Duke.
And Purdue has played better than Duke, more consistent. I think Duke's actually maybe the slightly better team with AJ Griffin, but that's another separate conversation. Put that to the side. You probably have the winner here. Every time I've been inclined to take these large dogs, I've just been completely bludgeoned. So who knows? It
seems like kind of a crapshoot taking these large favorites, large dogs, probably a 50-50. Hey, most spreads are 50-50. I really think it's a scenario where Purdue might not go possession without scoring.
Yeah,
because they will get their own miss, and our Incarnate Word will go plenty, obviously, without scoring. I think Purdue wins this game pretty easily. So minus 38, best bet, lock it in.
Good for you. I like Incarnate Word too much. Jim's right. I like Incarnate Word way too much. I've been on this team stubbornly for the last year and a half, so I might need to get off that island.
Next game here. More competitive games. I laughed at Bernie in the chat. Had to look up mentee to see if it was a word. I like that.
It is. Funny. I believe it is.
It is. I think it's a word. Oral Roberts at South Dakota. We're talking about Summit League, Matt. Summit League play kicks off. We're excited. I apologize to one of these games. I actually left off the slate. We will talk about it, though, I'm sure, in the chat here. Oral Roberts, last year, Matt, went to South Dakota. They played one time last year.
Yep.
South Dakota won by 2. This feels like a situation where Oral Roberts just has another gear that South Dakota doesn't quite have, but conference play is weird. It's on the road. Where do you see this game?
So looking at that matchup, that box score is basically a Max Asmus versus AJ Plitzelwhite, heavyweight bout. Plitzelwhite had 37, Asmus had 36. So look at these rosters compared from last year to this. ORU basically the same team, sans Kevin O'Banner, obviously a really critical piece, but it's a lot of the same makeup. I don't think they're much worse than what we saw last season. In general, I have this Oral Roberts team tagged as a sort of a buy low at the beginning of conference play. It reminds me of the 2020 Colgate team coming off the awesome tournament year where they almost beat Tennessee and they slept walk through the non-conference. They sort of read their plus clippings a little bit too much, haven't been as dominant maybe as we thought so far in the non-conference. I think they're going to turn it on this year. And I think South Dakota is just not the same team. And the fact that they played the Todd Lee offense last year only once, it's a complicated offense to prepare for first time you see it. I think at least you have one game under your belt to bake into your scouting report. A lot here points to the Eagles on the road. And I took them as my best bet. So short slate, options are limited, but I'm taking them even at -4.
Yep.
Early money's been pouncing on the Golden Eagles as well. I think anything up to 5 even would be a good value play here.
South Dakota State was a team that was not South Dakota, excuse me. Thank you. The Coyotes, Matt. I don't believe they say Coyotes. I think they say Coyotes. A team that I was enjoying fading earlier in the year. They've kind of figured it out. And that's a lot of credit to Todd Lee. I think he's a fantastic coach. This worries me a little bit at home. They've played much better at home. In fact, their only 4 losses are on the road. They're undefeated at home currently. I think it's a different kind of environment.
It's a good home court.
It is a little bit nervous here about 4 points, but I wish you luck in your best bet.
Thank you. Yeah, all the summits have pretty good home courts, so you kind of have to respect.
Makes sense. It's a pretty
tough travel,
spread out. Yeah,
geographically sprawled. Right.
Airports can't be close to some of these places. All right, chat mob, and you know what? I think we only have one in the mob here. St. Thomas, Nebraska, Omaha, Matt.
Yeah.
2 teams that are basically, and we say this phrase a lot, I've noticed, whack-a-mole.
Yes.
2 teams that are hard to figure out. Both teams, I believe, St. Thomas 4-4 against the spread. Omaha is actually like 4-6 against the spread, which is the most crazy stat ever, considering they've already started 6 different starting lineups in 11 games because of all these injuries. 13 guys in their team have played over 3 games each. 12 guys have played over 6 games. It's basically whoever they have available, they're thrown in the lineup because they have so many guys in and out. And St. Thomas, Matt, to their credit, they can do one thing really well, and it's play offense. Johnny Tower is a master on the offensive end. How else can you explain getting a bunch of D3 guys to not only be competitive, but win basketball games at the D1 level? It's incredible. I do lean their way tonight, the Tommies, in their first ever conference game in Division I.
I can't make any definitive take on this game until you know who's playing, and you just don't know who's going to show up for Omaha. It sounds like a lot of these guys were close to returning. It reads like they've actually been dressed for a couple of these games, and they just haven't played. So I feel bad for Darren Hansen. He had the same issue last year with a bunch of guys in and out of the lineup all year, and they were sort of a disaster. It's been deja vu a lot this season. St. Thomas, Kai, they're not like Merrimack their first year in D1, but it's a similar type of
Merrimack.
But they're similar in that they have a very unique style that the first time you play it, it's like, whoa, why are these guys shooting 30 footers? Like no team shoots from as far out and as consistently, well beyond the NBA line than St. Thomas. And they have to, right? Because they're not super athletic. But it's also kind of part of their offense. They live and die by the 3 ball. They can't stop a nosebleed inside. The question is, can Omaha exploit that? And if we knew Isaiah Porber Chandler was playing tonight, maybe I'd be inclined to go against you on that one. But man, I don't know. I just cannot touch Omaha until you have some sort of roster solidification there.
Yeah, I can't touch or fade either of these teams because I can't figure them out. But St. Thomas, 55% of their shots come from 3. And they're a top 10 team in turnover rate. Like they do not turn the ball over. Anders Nelson, he's the guy. He's a top 10 usage guy in the country, something like that. Incredible this year, what they've been doing. You know what? Go Tommies. I'm just rooting for the Tommies in general.
I am too. I want to have a good year.
Second D1 team from Minnesota. Why not?
Also worth noting, their pseudo big guy, Parker Borglund. I think
he's been out for a while.
Been out for the last 4 games. They've been pretty well without him. I just think that's going to catch up to him, man. They have no size, and he's one of the only dudes who is semi-big. I think 6'6", but they're mostly 6 foot to 6'6" dudes. It's very D3 roster-esque.
Well, there you go. It is D3. Matt, one more the chat map here. Delaware State is going to Wagner. Wagner, unfortunately, we haven't seen very much of them, and we think they're really good. They just haven't gotten to play many games because of pauses. They're 23-point favorites, and Delaware State, like a lot of these teams, they're not as bad as normal this season.
Yep.
This does feel a tad high to me.
Feels very high. Unfortunately, Delaware State hasn't been competitive like the last 4 games. Got destroyed by NC Central, a team who's not really been that good this season. Lost by 14 at home to St. Francis Brooklyn. We're not very high on that team.
No.
36 to Liberty, 20 to Longwood, 11 at home to Delaware. That was like basically their Super Bowl. It's like the most hyped game of the entire season. So that's like the best, most hyped effort they're going to have. And they still weren't really overly competitive there. It feels high, but man, I've seen no evidence to suggest that they're going to compete in this game because Stan Waterman and company haven't really done so all year. And we like Wagner. We do.
We like Wagner. They're going to be really good. They're going to win the NEC. Okay.
Knock on wood. We have a conference future writing on that. We cannot jeopardize our potential income. So don't say that so confidently.
That's true.
Respect the gambling gods.
Back to the rundown. We'll definitely hit the Leathernecks on the rundown here. But first, we're going to talk about a different Western team, and this is Western Carolina, the Catamounts at Georgia. And Matt, Western Carolina is like the ultimate feast or famine team this year. Yep. They've hung around. They've beaten better teams. They've also lost to teams like Gardner-Webb by 28 points. It's because all they do is launch threes.
Launch threes.
Like they can shoot 50 threes in a game, and that's not really hyperbole. That's how many threes they shoot. They have talent on this team. A ton of really good JUCO transfers. 2 JUCO guys were All-Americans at that level. Perhaps they hit enough here to cover against Georgia. Perhaps Georgia is a little sleepy here. Why would Georgia care about this game at all? It's a sleepy spot at home. It's non-conference, obviously. I'm kind of leaning towards the Catamounts here, plus 11.5, but they are so Jekyll and Hyde. Yeah. I don't feel confident betting on them.
I also lean them as well. You mentioned the JUCO talent. They also still have Travion McCray back from last year. Who's a fantastic guard. Marvin Price, I think, was a fringe 3-4-star recruit from Ohio. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Justin Gray, former Wake standout, has some serious talent here, and he's basically playing the NBA extreme style. We're going to spread it out, launch, get up and down. I do lean this way. Georgia coming off that tough loss to George Mason. I don't know if this is like a get right game against Western Carolina. It feels like a stretch for a narrative to me. Yeah, I guess I lean that way, Kai. Georgia's just been pretty much just whatever, as we suspected. And obviously the injuries
are what they thought we were.
Well, they are exactly what we thought they were. Exactly. And with Jalen Ingram out now, it's only going to get worse.
Let's head back to the Summit League. We have 2 more to talk about here for the Summit League. UMKC, a.k.a. Kansas City, at South Dakota State. Matt, UMKC, I don't think, can take advantage of South Dakota State's porous defense. That's where the Jack Bunnies have really struggled this year. And KC is just not a great offensive team. And I don't really think the Roos can stop South Dakota State on the other end. But in my head, Billy Donlin, right, the coach for UMKC, he is the ultimate make games ugly game plan type of coach. So I was like, I bet UMKC has played them tough last couple of years. Last season, South Dakota State beat them by 12, beat them by 18.
Yep.
Neither too competitive. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, that's what I was looking at too. Reflecting back on what's happened in the prior matchups, because I think both coaches have such a distinct style that you can look at those precedents and make some conclusions. We think of UMKC as this awesome underdog, and I think in most cases that's true. This is a little bit of an exception, just with the way that South Dakota can spread you out, and they're so unique and unorthodox with all their like interchangeable pieces. Multiple shooters, multiple lefties. I think that southpaw dynamic actually has a little bit of an advantage first time you see it each season. And South Dakota State coming off that tough loss to Missouri State. They're back home, first conference game. I want to take the Roos, Kai, but I'm not doing it here. Can't do it.
Yep. I like South Dakota State in general, man. I always do that team. I really do. They're fun to watch. Baylor Shireman, Douglas Wilson, Noah Friedel. Awesome guys. Okay, next game. Western Illinois. Talk about a wagon this season, the Leathernecks, although they did not cover against Eastern Illinois. They let the Panthers hang around there. They're headed to Denver, Matt, a team that is not nearly as big of a dumpster fire as last year. They got rid of Billups. They hired Wolbrun. Wolbrun's son is a walk-on for Purdue who actually got some action in the last game. I hope he gets some action tonight as well against Incarnate Word because Purdue's up 60. I really hope he can do that, Matthew. That's what I'm thinking right now. Western Illinois, shooting's key for them.
Yes.
And I think they're just at another level this year under Jeter than Denver is. But my gut's kind of leaning towards Denver here.
Yep, I agree.
Home floor, first conference game, altitude. If you like that angle at all, what do you think?
I agree. They played Denver twice last year at home. So this is Jeter's and this core roster's first trip to altitude. Now, the Pios aren't exactly going to pack the stands with 30,000.
I doubt it. Yeah,
it's the home court is basically strictly limited to travel and altitude. There will be no home juice in that building. Sorry, Pios just haven't been good enough to really warrant that lately. Kind of with you. I just think the spread's a little bit too high. I'm trying to talk myself into Western Illinois as being like a variance monster shooting regression candidate, but I think they have legit shooters, man. Will Carius can stroke it. Trenton Massner, Colton Sandage, my guy, can bomb it. But Denver's got some athletes. I think they play hard. It's one thing I watched Denver this year compared to the years past under Billups. They actually give a crap and they compete, and that matters. A few times this year they've gotten down 15, 20 points. They've stormed back. The Air Force game comes to mind. So yeah, I think Denver will not go away here. I would tread lightly if you're looking to back the Western Illinois bandwagon freight train that is rolling right now.
Yeah, I was looking at there we go. There's some spreads here. Western Illinois is 9-2 against the spread. Oh, excuse me, that's their overall record. Look at me being able to use the internet.
I have it right here, I think. Let me see.
Good, please do. Both teams are good against the spread, and I had this stat queued up here: 7-2 against the spread. Denver's 8-3 against the spread.
Denver's 8-3.
Two teams that have been covering a lot as a wagon. We tend to think WIU more of a wagon type of team, but Denver's sneaky this season. Don't sleep on the Pios. All right, last game of the rundown. I do see we have 2 more questions in the chat. That's fantastic. Yep. Eastern Michigan at Valparaiso. Man, I'm on Eastern Michigan every single game. The market is just consistently lower than I am on this team. Not too surprising, I suppose. I just think they've been a lot better this season.
I agree.
Understand Heath than most people thought they would be. With Noah Farrakhan in the lineup, they've covered more often than not. Those games they haven't covered, mostly he's been out of the lineup. He's very key for them, a transfer this year. But Matt Valpo is getting better. Kobe King back in the lineup. They're at full strength. They're a team that at least I kind of thought could compete near the top of the valley this season. 7.5, 8 points feels kind of high to me. I think EMU has a chance to keep it tight.
I agree. The early money disagrees with us. It opened closer to 6. Now it's been bet up to 8. I am tempted to ride along with you on this. Valpo coming off that loss to Charlotte last Saturday. EMU also had that 4 overtime win. Both teams have had plenty of time off. There's really no edge there from like a rest preparation standpoint. You're right, Kai. I'm looking at the cover splits right now. They're 6-3 against number this year. EMU did not cover against UC San Diego. Noah did not play in that game. They got blown out by DePaul. But basically every other game that they've been in. He
played that one, I think.
He did play, yeah. But that's a team different, multiple classes above. This is Valpo's more in the same ilk as EMU. I think they're a live dog here on the road. The question is, did they treat it like a throw it away type game?
I know. Last
game pre-conference. Valpo maybe a buy low because Kobe King's back in the mix. I don't know. A lot of conflicting forces here. I think you have the right side though. +8.
The angles of week of holidays here. We're going to a break soon. Does the road team not care as much? Does the home team not care as much in these non-con type situations, especially where it's like there's literally no eyes on this game.
Right. Yep. No one's watching.
It's tough to decide which one's the better one there. Okay. 2 questions from the chat mob, then we'll do best bets and wrap it on up. Manhattan and Charleston Southern. This is not at Charleston Southern. This is actually at the Citadel, Matthew.
Yep.
The Citadel is hosting a tournament here. Manhattan, 8.5 point favorites. And sheesh, we're not used to seeing Manhattan as a near double-digit favorite against anybody. They have been better this year. Their offense has improved. Samir Stewart, key guy out last game for Manhattan. Not sure he's going to play this year. He's been on the team for 10 years. What do you think?
I'm going to add a last-second secondary best bet on today's teeny tiny slate. I'm going Chuck South +8. And
+8.5 if you want it.
+8.5. I'll take the hook. You're going to give it to me? I'll take it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, BetRivers, for providing that for me and our listeners and followers of sorts. Here's my handicap here, Kai. You have, I'm looking at KenPom right now. Manhattan, he has this game at Manhattan, and he's pricing his model accordingly. So he has Charleston Southern losing by 9 at Manhattan. The line opened at 8.5, 9?
8.5, yeah.
I wonder if there was just a mistake with that, or if the odds makers actually looked at where this game truly is being played and still think Charleston Southern is bad. And they're not quite in the IUPUI, EIU, NIU tier for me. I think they're getting a little healthier.
Maybe.
They've been competitive. They were up on Tennessee State. They screwed me over and lost late. I don't think Chuck Stout's that bad. And this game's basically in their backyard. Coming off a tough loss in Tennessee State. I like Chuck South +8. Boom. Secondary best bet. Add it.
8.5.
8.5.
Wow. Good for you.
Thank you.
And the other game, Maryland Eastern Shore versus Charlotte. Yeah. Lakeshore Magazine points out Maryland Eastern Shore is 7-0 against the spread, and their cover margin is almost 14 points per game.
It's absolutely insane.
They're not only covering, they're easily covering these games against a Charlotte team that is fine. I don't think they can really get away from anybody. Them as a big favorite kind of spooks me. I probably lean towards Eastern Shore here.
Agree. It's the problem is that it's got bet down from 13 to 12. The expiration date on the Maryland Eastern Shore gravy train is probably soon approaching. Right. If you got your licks in early, you probably you did cash in. You actually have only cashed in. You haven't paid anything back. You've done nothing but covered, literally. But yeah, Kai, you said the key point there. Charlotte is a large favorite, not very appetizing, especially when they just went 15 rounds with Wake, almost had a chance to beat them. This screams like a deflating, why are we playing this game effort from Charlotte where Eastern Shore can hang around. I just wish I was getting like a few more points, like 14 or 15. I think 12's a little low.
Yeah, feels
a
a little low.
A little short.
All right, let's do best bets. I got Jim's holstered here. We can end with his. Matt, remind the folks about your best bet.
Last second ad, I got Charleston Southern plus 8.5. I will be taking that hook. And Oral Roberts at -4. I think you're paying a little bit of a premium for it. I would take it up to 5, but try and lock it in before it gets to 5. Because we mentioned South Dakota can be feisty, but I like me some Max Asmussen boys. So let's roll Golden Eagles.
My best bet is Purdue -38. They can do it. Do they want to do it? Let's hope so. And then Jim's best bet, guys, from the airplane that he's currently sitting on or almost going to be sitting on. He's taking the under, no surprise here, in Western Michigan at Notre Dame. It is at 137.5 under Western Michigan visiting Notre Dame. A yawn of a spot there.
Yes.
Good luck to Jim. That does it for our show. Guys, thanks for joining us. We're back again tomorrow.
Back tomorrow. Big slate tomorrow, by the way.
Big slate.
Yeah.
We're back tomorrow. We're back Wednesday, and then we are off for a few days as there is very little college basketball. But hit the like button, hit the subscribe button before you go on your way out, please. We will see you tomorrow at 12 Central.